everyone, good morning. Welcome to day 4. Yesterday, very important class was conducted. We have done quite a huge number of things which are very important. Today, the class is also going to be very important. You will be learning quite many things, new things. Uh, but then I would again like to request you all that you please keep your books and copies around. If you don't have your books, no problem. I will give you the materials. If you have your copies, please keep your copies around with you so that you can write things. If you have not yet arranged for your copy, or if it is kept somewhere else, then you please pause the video and go get your copy and you can resume the video. Know what things were taught yesterday. Yesterday important things were taught. I have discussed in detail about assets, liabilities, income, expense, deferred uh, revenue expenditure, capital expenditure. After that we have done many things, right? Today a little easy things we shall start, and after that we'll gradually move on to the complex ones. So as you can see, this is day 4 and we are doing the basic accounting terms. Today first thing that I want you to explain you is debtors. DEBTORS, debtors. B is silent, okay? Then you try to think and pronounce what is the pronunciation of this word. It is debtors. This B is silent. So the spelling and the pronunciation. Spelling is debtors and pronunciation is debtors, okay? Now who exactly are your debtors? Debtors are customers who have bought goods from us on credit. They are our debtors. So debtors are customers who has bought goods from us on credit and they have promised to pay us. Okay, so if a person or an institution or a business is buying goods from us on credit, then it is said to be a debtor, and debtors are our assets. You remember I taught you about current assets and non-current assets. Try to figure out, try to think and say debtors would be which type of asset, current asset or non-current asset. Debtors would be current asset or non-current asset. Debtors are current asset, okay? Debtors are current asset because you will not give goods on credit for a very long period of time. Maybe for some days you will give, but not for a very long time, that is for more than a year. So that is debtors. So I'll repeat, debtors, customers who have bought goods from us on credit is called our debtors. So it is not always necessary that debtors will be person who has bought goods from us on credit. So debt can be in any way by which we are supposed to receive money. As I have always told you, remember that you have got only one sense organ, and one sense organ, if you keep that only money, then understand that for any reason if you are going to get money from somebody, that is my debtors, right? But in to be specific and to be more precise, generally customers who has bought goods from us on credit, they are called our debtors, and debtors are my asset, and it is particularly a current asset. Okay, now next topic. So next topic, creditors. Next topic is creditors. Now who is a creditor? Creditors are our suppliers who has sold goods to us on credit. Suppliers are persons or institutions or organizations or businesses who has sold goods to us on credit. They are our liability. Okay, and it is a, we know that there is a current liability and there is a non-current liability. Yes, there are two types of liabilities. I have explained you already, current liability and non-current liability. So creditors are current liability. Please remember this. Creditors are current liability. So asset, debtors are asset, liabilities, debtors are asset and creditors are liability. If one person is the debtor, the other person, the customer, becomes the creditor. So one example I'll give you. Suppose there are two persons. One is Ram and the other one is Mohan. So Ram purchased goods on credit from Mohan. So who is the debtor? Ram is the debtor and Mohan is the creditor. I hope it is clear now. Okay, next topic. So now next topic is bill receivable. In the earlier classes, while I was speaking about current assets and liabilities and all that thing, that I have spoken about bill receivable. Today we will do in detail what is a bill receivable. So bill receivable is basically a negotiable instrument. I repeat, bill receivable is a negotiable instrument. Suppose say Karan and Arjun. Okay. So Karan and Arjun. Karan went to buy some goods from Arjun on credit. He has made a promise, I will pay you after 1 month. Try to understand. He has made a promise, Karan has made a promise to Arjun that I will pay you after 1 month. Only on this promise of Karan, Arjun has given him the goods. Now if Karan does not pay the money to Arjun, then what Arjun can do? Are you getting my point? On a personal note, he has just asked him that you sell me the goods on credit, money I will give you after 1 month. But if after 1 month, if Arjun is not getting the money, or you can say if Karan is not going to pay the money, then what Arjun can do legally? Understood? What happens when the promise was made, na? When this promise was made, if Arjun was wise enough and asked him to give it in written, then Arjun would be on the safer side. Now this written document can be termed to be a bill receivable, wherein it's an order to pay made by Arjun that on demand Karan will pay the money to Arjun or any person who is bearing that security or that instrument. So basically what it is, it can be said to be a written promise or a written order which will be done from Arjun side, that Arjun will ask Karan to make the payment. If it is written, always better, right? Because if it is not written, then Karan can say at a later date that no, I have not made any such promise. And you must be thinking about, then what about that bill, or that you call bill, na? And what about that invoice or that voucher or something like that, that money receipt and all that, that bill that we take. In general term, you use that word bill. That is of no use. That is of no use because nowhere it is signed. I know you must be thinking quite a lot of things, that we can take the sign at the back of the bill, we can take the sign here and there and all that. These things do not work. This is something which is very much authentic. Okay. So for Karan, for Arjun, it will be bill receivable. For Arjun, it will be bill receivable because he will get money. That is why. And for Karan, it will be bills payable. Bills payable. Right? So one single document, one single instrument is being called as bill receivable, and the same document is called to be bills payable. Bill receivable for the buyer, sorry, for the seller. Bill receivable for the seller, and bills payable for the buyer. So what it is basically, it is a negotiable instrument. A negotiable instrument is basically a written order, or you, in other words, you can say a written promise, by which the person, that means Mr. Karan will be paying the money, so he will have to sign on that. Actually, both of these persons' signature will be there in that bills of exchange. So bill receivable and bills payable is done, right? So as of now, I have taught you 4 topics. One is debtors, one is creditors, one is bill receivable, one is bills payable. Now, related word. One word is called trade receivable. You know what is a trade receivable? Spelling is T-R-A-D-E, trade, R-E-C-E-I-V-A-B-L-E, trade receivable. Debtors and bill receivable together is called trade receivable. I repeat, trade receivable together is, debtors and bill receivable together is called trade receivable. And creditors and bills payable together are called trade payable. Please remember this word. This was related, hence I have given you, so that you can understand, and you will know things, and you will understand things in a better way. You know, in a real world, when you see the balance sheet of any company, if you come across any financial information of a company, of a real world company, they will hardly use the word bill receivable, they will hardly use the word debtor, they will hardly use the word creditor. They will use the word trade receivable and trade payable. So whenever you see in any financial report of any real company or of a real business, you will see that trade receivable, the term trade receivable they are using, and they are using the term trade payable. So trade receivable is a combination of debtors and bill receivable together, and trade payable is the combination of creditors and bills payable together. All right, so next topic. Okay, very interesting topic, and you must know about it. I believe many of you must be using a mobile phone or a laptop or a scooty or a bike, or maybe that Royal Enfield Bullet or whatsoever. Many of you might be having cars, many things. We have so many assets. Do you think that the value of any asset reduces due to use or due to any other reason. For example, suppose I have a phone, mobile phone, and I bought that mobile phone in January 2020, say 10th of January. I bought a mobile phone, and say the price of that mobile phone is say 45,000 rupees. Okay, the price of that mobile phone is 45,000 rupees. And now to it is coronavirus and pandemic time. Suppose if this is not there, and say today is 1st June. Suppose today is 1st June 2020. So my phone is old now, right? I will sell it on second hand. If I want to sell, what do you think? What price will I get? So some of you must be thinking, sir, you will get 20,000 rupees. Some of you will be thinking, sir, you will get 25,000 rupees. Or some of you will be thinking, sir, you must get 15,000 rupees, and so on. Okay. Whatever price you are charging, that's another thing. I'm not going to get into that bargaining of the price, but I want you to understand one simple and important topic. On 10th January, when the phone was bought, it was costing rupees 45,000, and now when I'm going to sell it, it is going to cost me somewhere between, I'm going to fetch around 15,000 or maybe 20,000 or maybe 25,000 rupees. So the question is, why has the price, or you can say the value has reduced? Why has the value reduced of this mobile phone? The value has reduced due to various reasons. What are the reasons? The reasons can be due to use. I have used the mobile phone, so the value reduced. Maybe due to wear and tear. Now you must be thinking, sir, what is a wear and tear? Wear and tear is basically that thing which, while using, things get a little old type. Okay, like say for example, when you bought your mobile phone, or say when you bought any gadget, say your TV or anything, your say your iPad or your whatever things, or maybe your scooty, your bike, whatever you have bought. Whenever you buy anything, that it looks new, na? There's a lot of shine, there's a lot of chamak damak and all that. But after using it for some time, that shininess starts to lose. So these things are called wear and tear. Okay, maybe your dress, maybe your shoe. When you buy a new shoe, it looks so new and nice, and you use it for some time, it looks torn up and all that. So due to use, due to wear and tear, due to technological change, and due to many reasons. What is this called? This is called depreciation. Sorry, pardon for this handwriting. Depreciation. 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 Now depreciation means gradual and permanent reduction in the value of any fixed asset. Okay, so gradual and permanent decrease or reduction in the value of any fixed asset is called depreciation. Try to recall and try to remember one thing. If I will sell my phone, I bought my phone on 10th January. If I sell my phone on 10th February, do you think the price will be 20,000 or 15,000? No, certainly not. be somewhere around say 30 or say 35,000 rupees. Suppose if I sell my phone which is just 1 week old, I will not get 35,000 rupees. I might get 40,000 rupees also. Think about a scooty. You buy a scooty say for 75,000 rupees. You buy a scooty for 75,000 rupees. 1 month old scooty. You think you will get 30,000 rupees? No. Maybe 1 month old you will get for 65,000 rupees. Say 3 months old, maybe you will get for 60,000 rupees. Say 1 year old, maybe you will get for 50,000 rupees. So all of a sudden the price does not fall. The price falls gradually. That is why whenever you write the meaning, whenever you think about the meaning of depreciation, the word gradual is very, very important. Okay, so depreciation means gradual and permanent. Why permanent? Because once the price falls, the price will not go up unless until something very much uncanny or unnatural thing has happened. Only in some cases, some types of assets, the price increases, not decreases. That is land and all that, which is scarce resource, like gold, scarce resource. Price will increase, not reduce. Okay, but in general, all other assets, say your bike, your car, your scooty, your mobile phone, your machine, anything, the price will fall, and this falling of price is called depreciation. All right, so next topic. So in the previous topics I have used the word goods. So what is a goods? Goods are any item which we buy, which we purchase, or which we buy to sell, and not for use. Which we buy to sell and not to use, that is called my goods. Okay, so goods are those things which we purchase for the intention, for the purpose of selling. Now a group of goods is called my stock. As you all know, stock is nothing new. All of you must know. A group or a collection of goods is called stock, and the list of stock is called inventory. But as of now, since you people are in class 11 and recently started the classes, you can say that goods, stock and inventory all are same thing, but then this is the minute difference which I have given you, and you can remember that's not a very big deal. So goods are something which we have not purchased for the purpose of consumption, but we have purchased it for the purpose of selling it off. Group of goods or collection of goods is called stock, and inventory is actually the list of stocks, and it includes many other things, not just only goods. It includes raw materials, stock in trade, things which are there already for sale, those things, and semi-finished goods. Suppose while production anything is there which is not completed, that is there, then you can say finished goods which are lying there in our godown, and some stock in transit. Suppose we have ordered something which is coming and today is the year end time, so those things. Or say to our customers we have sold something, it is already going, and in the it is in the transport, maybe in the truck or maybe in the train or maybe in the ship or wherever. So transit. So inventory is actually an inclusive of so many things. So I've taught you goods, then stock, and then inventory. And inventory includes what all things I've told. Inventory also includes loose tools. Now what is a loose tool? Loose tools are those things which are the equipment that we use for our daily work, okay, in the business. Alright. So as of now we are done with today's class. So there was a lot of topic which has been discussed. They were important and it has been done. All of you study properly, stay safe, be healthy. For any kind of doubts, you may contact the teachers. Thank you.